Okay, so we've come outside and we're going to see what we can do with the case of this Dansette. Looks pretty disgusting at the moment. I'm just going to use some water. There's some washing up liquid. If necessary, I'll use some laundry detergent. You have to be very careful, particularly the red will fade and you'll lose the colour if you rub it too hard with anything too abrasive. So, yeah, and you can start to see, well, it's starting to lift how black some of this stuff is. Years of grime, nicotine coming off, and we're starting to see some of the original colour. It's rather nice sort of check, greeny grey. So hopefully you can see starting to come up quite nicely. That's the part that I've cleaned. Still got to clean up the lower part of the box. Okay, that's looking a bit cleaner. In particular, this check's cleaned up quite nicely. Still, maybe a little bit of work we can do. The red, well, we got some bits of paint, and we got a few marks, and it's areas like here where over the years, that's where you lift the lid up, so those areas in particular get pretty dirty. So we may have to think about staining or repainting this red part. We'll have a look when it's dried and make a decision, but certainly the check part is looking pretty good. Okay, so now we've come back inside to work on the amplifier. So I've still got it connected to the deck, as you can see, and we're going to change out certainly that capacitor just there, which is probably made of something very odd, wax and pig fat and paper and I don't know what. You can see the valve there, and there's this can here I should probably change out as well on this one, so that contains 3 capacitors as well. Okay, so we've now looked at the amplifier, which is here, and replaced some components which are here, so some capacitors, and the valve was shot unfortunately, so I've had to replace that. The cartridge was pretty disgusting, you can see that, so the crystal inside has absorbed moisture over the years. That's not really doing anything anymore. And this can, so we've had to replace that with 3 individual capacitors, which you can see wired in here. We are actually hooked up together. We've got some crocodile clips going to the speaker, and the deck is resting on some supports. So we'll switch her on, and okay, things are turning. I've just put a cartridge in temporarily at the moment. That's actually held in with a piece of blue tack, just to see whether much is going on. If I scratch it, I can hear something from the speaker, so that's a good sign. Just touching the stylus. We'll try it on an auto cycle. Okay, it's good. Well, the observant amongst you may have noticed at the end of that last video clip we had some blue smoke coming out from underneath the platter. So we stopped videoing and stopped talking, and we hit the off switch pretty quick. And basically the motor that drives the spindle, that drives the platter, burnt out. Never happened before. I've restored about 50 record players, and that's the first time. It's the first for me, unfortunately. It happened on camera. So that's a bit of a pain because things were going so well. And it's not been used for probably 50 years, and it was just too much for the old thing. So now we have to think about what we're going to do. Well, I'll tell you what I have done. It's very difficult to get motors, but I did happen to have a spare deck. That's the whole mechanism, and from a very cheap record player that I bought. There were quite a lot of cheap record players built that had quite good decks in them. And so we've swapped it out. So this was the old deck that came with the unit, and that's where the motor went, that thing there. I took it off to have a look at it, but this will now be used for spares or something, and it's going to sit down there. So we've got a new deck, still a BSR deck. Had to be a bit clever with this piece here. So this was removed from the old board, otherwise I'd have had a big gap. And there's 2 or 3 wires underneath. I'll just show you. Just the wires that go to the motor and to the pickup, and had to reroute the mains cable through the board. But other than that, it's pretty much a straight replacement. I'll have to do something with the platter mat, but I've now got the amplifier back in place, and I've just put the knobs back on. One of them was a little bit busted up, if you can see that, but fortunately over the years we tend to accumulate some bits and pieces, so I had a spare knob. I was able to use the brass, what's called the Chinese hat, off that one, and fit it quite nicely on a spare that I had. Okay, and she's just about done now. In fact, I think she's done. So finally, takes a while. Grill's looking good. I did respray that and dressed up the logo there, blacked in the background, polished up the brass, all the brass works back on. I like to see them a little bit tarnished, because that's just the age of the machine, really. Generally, pretty pleased, come up very nicely actually. So we'll open her up. There's the new deck. So a bit of a surprise there. Just have to get a new logo actually. You can buy these online, or I may be able to photocopy one from one I've got already, and then you can plastic coat them and they look pretty good. So let's play a record. Got a bit of Everly Brothers. Hopefully she's going to behave.
Dream, 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 when I want you in my arms, when I want you, and all your charms, whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream.
So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment if you're interested, and feel free to ask me some questions, and see you again next time.